Ready on the set? Let's try this again.
I'm Jenna Gage, and this is Life Take Two. Hey, everybody. I've been doing some thinking the last month or so, and I want to share with you my thoughts. First, I spent a month in bed with a major illness that led to a medical emergency that was kind of scary, and then I finally recovered from that and got away. I've sat here reading a book with my toes buried in the sand, thinking about life. And it feels like such a luxury to have time to think because I've been in survival mode since my marriage collapsed. And the sad thing is that survival mode just kind of became my normal. It was normal to work a bunch of little minimum wage jobs and run my TikTok and furniture flip and stuff 7 days a week. It was normal to be in and out of the hospital all the time. It was normal to never know for sure if I was going to pay rent the next month or not. Normal to deal with toxic people both in real life and on the internet. And just in general, it was normal for my life to be just a little bit miserable pretty much all the time. I always thought that with my hard work and positive attitude, I'd eventually get to a place where things got easier, and that hasn't been the case. And finally, just about 5 weeks ago, my life got so miserable that I just had to step back from a whole bunch of stuff and a whole bunch of people and carve out some space to just think and breathe and figure out what my next steps are in life. In a lot of ways, this break has almost felt like an out-of-body experience. You know how when you go no contact with a really toxic partner and only then do you start to realize just how bad they were, how crappy they made you feel? This break has definitely underscored some major problems that I face and things that I need to avoid in life. And it's helped me to see and appreciate the people and things that really matter to me. And one thing I've thought about so much during this little break is that I am surrounded by so much beauty in my life, and I'm not able to appreciate it because of the ugliness that I'm allowing to come in. I've been okay with not enjoying my life for so long that I've almost forgotten how. You know what? I just want to enjoy my life. There are very few hills that I'm willing to die on that are worth destroying my peace and happiness. And there are almost no causes for which I am willing to destroy the peace and happiness of the people that I love. So I am heading home this week feeling very much refreshed and focused and with clarity about what it is that I want to do in life and who I want in my life. And let me tell you, that inner circle just got even smaller than it ever was before. And I think it's just perfect. First, I want to point out that is the first family vacation that Kev and I have been able to afford to go on with our kids in the whole 6 years that we've been together. And that wasn't related to child custody exchange, a travel sports team, or a funeral, or somebody in the hospital. So that felt like a real luxury. My marriage ended 7 years ago. Kevin and I have been together for 6 years. And I had this moment of feeling just a little bit normal, like look at us. We're a family that has just a little teensy bit of money to drive 6 hours away to California, spend a couple nights in a cheap hotel, and stick our toes in the sand. So that was amazing. And also, it makes me keenly aware of all of the other divorced and divorcing stay-at-home moms, young women without job skills, and single moms who really never recover financially. It's a difficult road, and one that I would have never gotten on had I known what the possible ramifications were. Obviously, that's what my whole entire Life Take Two channel was about. Now I know. So that was amazing and gave me the time to rest and think. And I guess I should say hello. It's been a while since I've done an intentional video. It's been a really long 5 weeks, and it wasn't the 5 weeks that I expected it to be. And I had expected for that to be indefinite. and not just a month and a little bit. Speaking out against religious institutions, government institutions, systems that men are comfortable with is really hard. And honestly, I don't know if I could have done it if I had known how challenging it was going to be when I first got into it. When I did my first video, I just had finished up a session with my therapist. I had told him why I'd been a stay-at-home mom because the Mormon prophet said that I wasn't supposed to have a job. So then I quit my job and was a trad wife for 24 years, which led to homelessness. When I shot that first video, there was really hardly anybody on TikTok. TikTok was brand new. I had seen one ex-Mormon on TikTok. I was the second ex-Mormon, and that word I only knew from his channel. I would have called myself inactive or Jack Mormon. I learned that word ex-Mormon from his TikTok, and I really didn't know what I was doing, but I knew that I had experienced things both as a teacher at the Mormon church, as a member of the Mormon church, and a temple worker and somebody who had left the Mormon church, that I feel like it was important for people to hear about. And people were listening to all kinds of different topics on TikTok. And it was a microphone that I could use to warn other people. And there were some challenges to that popped up along the way that I hadn't realized I was going to face going into it. First of all, when you face those institutions, they are going to fight back against you in ways that aren't appropriate for the circumstance. And fighting the Mormon church, it's like David and Goliath, except that somebody forgot to give David some rocks. Like, he's just in the middle of a sandy desert with nothing to throw at Goliath except a handful of sand, and that's not going to do anything. It is very difficult for all of us who speak out against the Mormon church to do so because it is $1 trillion institution with a lot of people, and they are all bent on destroying anybody who speaks up against it. One of my biggest challenges in everything that I've done has just been the fact that I do have severe PTSD from 24 years of domestic violence, as well as my childhood and life events that have left me with a very fragile nervous system. So I feel like in my platforms, I'm always engaged in this balancing act between speaking up for women's rights and the vision that I have for a better world for my daughters, and advocating for those who've been harmed by the Mormon church and speaking up against religious structures in general that are harmful to people, and then also keeping myself safe and happy. And that's really hard. It was hard when I was going through escaping domestic violence and documenting that on my TikTok, and then being bullied and harassed and targeted. And then I'd get on my TikTok, which was a place that was supposed to be to help others and to help myself heal as I process things. And my social medias became, in many ways, worse than all of the other abuse that I had escaped, to the point that recently it has begun to permeate my life in huge ways. I had a female stalker here recently, and it was just a weird situation where she had my address and my phone number, and I don't know how harmful she was, but it triggered me to be constantly looking over my shoulder and feeling unsafe and not liking to put my face on screen. And I've also realized as I'm doing YouTube videos, and it's a longer form content, that it's causing more emotional distress for me than my short little TikTok videos. I could shoot a couple TikTok videos a day. They're 60 seconds to 5 minutes a piece. And then I walk away and I don't think about any of this stuff later on. But when I'm scripting and then producing, shooting and editing and posting and managing and following up on my longer form videos over here on YouTube, that means that the topic that I'm talking about is this immersive experience that goes on for hours to days. And let me give you an example of that. One of the last videos that I shot, I had found in a Rubbermaid in my storage unit the diary from when I married Jake, the diary that documents some of my first experiences with domestic violence, and consecutive 3 years after our marriage, where my life is a living hell. Now, I have not read these journal entries since they happened. I've never opened this diary. I've never read this diary. And because I wanted to do a video about it, I scrolled through. I found, here's when I met him, here's what happened, and then here's a couple of entries where the abuse started. And I was not in an emotional place to be able to face those memories at all. And especially not on camera. And then especially not listen to it again and again and edit it and make sure that all the audio was good and the lighting and everything, and then get it posted and then field the comments about it. Just diving into that memory alone without like a mental health practitioner or somebody nearby was so hard. And then sometime later that day, I did a video with another ex-Mormon that was broadcast live and began receiving hate and bullying and just really horrible personal attacks. Not about my argument, not about my feelings about the church or life or anything, but about me personally. And it sent me into a full-blown mental health crisis that impacted my ability to show up for my family and get out of bed and just live my life for several days, which is why I released that video from bed saying that I was shutting down my channels. I then privatized my almost 400,000 follower TikTok and said goodbye here on YouTube, deleted all of my scripts, canceled everything, and went off air until my response videos to the Mormon podcast. When I did that video, I thought that I was carving out for myself some space to heal, to not think about Mormon issues, to not be bullied, not face some of the horrible things that I had gone through. And then, of course, Mormon podcasters watched that video, reached out to me in the comments saying, oh, good, you're getting off air, to which I responded, yes, I'm in a mental health crisis because of my channel. And then dropped multiple videos about me and continued to just slam me in their comments any chance that they get. And I was left with a month of hell instead of peace, happiness, and doing yoga while searching for a job on Indeed that I had planned for myself. But despite all that, I have had a month to kind of get my head on straight for the first time in a really long time. You guys, I have produced content through every single surgery from the hospital. I have produced content while I'm completely bedbound, completely homebound, having seizures and major health crises. I produced content through the pandemic. I've produced content through everything, and I've never really just taken a break and stepped away and had time to listen to my own thoughts and my own heart. And now that I have, I want to share with you what my plans are moving forward. First of all, I don't like the thought of not being engaged in the battle against our current political, social, economic climate that we women are facing. I don't think that now is the time for any of us who are activists, who are warriors, who have lived under oppressive systems. I was born in the early 70s, and I saw women get bank accounts and start to work and start to have the ability to actually leave their husbands and survive on their own. I know what it's like in the old way, and I don't think that right now is a time for those of us who know to just sit by. Also, I wasn't taking down my platforms because I don't like doing this anymore. I was taking down my platforms because I'm being bullied and harassed. And to me, that just lets the bullies win, and they're just going to go on and bully somebody else until everybody's afraid to say anything. So I have had a lot of amazing friends, from journalists and producers and authors and content creators, and a couple of my friends that are more public personalities who have shared their thoughts and their insights. And one thing that really jumped out at me was a friend who said that, like, if you don't like your job within a company, you don't necessarily have to quit your job. You may just ask to transfer into a different department so that you can have a little different working environment. And within my platform, within my YouTube here, I don't necessarily think that I need to just jump out of content creation and podcasting when I've invested 6 years of my life into my platforms. I think that there's space for me to move into a different department by addressing some different topics with some different people. The content that I've been making really hasn't evolved a lot in the past 6 years. And in so many ways, I've kind of outgrown what I'm doing, and I would like to get a different office and work with some different people. And I think that I'm able to do that. I also need to cut down drastically on the amount of content that I'm creating so that I can have a full, happy life and not be sitting in front of a camera 7 days a week for hours and hours, editing and scripting and all those things that I do. So here's what I plan to do moving forward. I am completely ignoring, neglecting my TikTok. My passion is not over there anymore. It's just not. I don't have the bandwidth for it. I am going to put everything into my YouTube here, and I'm going to do two different things. First of all, my Life Take Two podcast is what I came to YouTube to do, and I already have some great interviews with people under my belt that I'd like to start posting. We were holding off on that until we launched Under Her Eye. My Life Take Two podcast is everything that I'm about. It's about the survivors. It's about those who have lived through trauma, or maybe they've just had obstacles in their path and they've overcome those things and had a dramatic life change. And here they are on the other side, and it's their stories. So moving forward in the future, I will drop a weekly episode of my Life Take Two interviews with some incredible people. And if you have anyone that you'd like me to talk to, send them my way. I have a schedule for the year and a couple of people that I've already worked with, but I'm always so happy to meet a new person whose story I haven't heard. Now, to go along with my Life Take Two podcast, I will be releasing a weekly video, maybe on the topic that I'm talking about with the person who's on my channel with me. And I will also do one weekly Q&A type of video for some of your comments around the topic. Next up, I'm going to bring our Under Her Eye podcast with Beth and Juliet under my Life Take Two umbrella. We're not releasing it to iTunes or iTunes or anywhere. We're only going to have it here on YouTube. It will be its own playlist. And as you know, our Under Her Eye podcast will be the three of us with some incredible special guests that, like, I am so thrilled about some of the people that we've been talking and filming with. And we will talk about the patriarchy. We will talk about women's rights. We will dive into women's history and the role of religion and family structures, the future, where we're going. All of that will be its own playlist here on my channel, and that will also be on my Substack. Now, rather than Patreon, Substack is where we're going to be posting some of those little special items. We'll do some after shows over there. And of course, I have my articles. Now, I don't want my Substack to be so exclusive that nobody can ever afford to subscribe to it. It's just a few dollars a month to subscribe. So if you go over and read an article or two, or like some of the things that we're doing over there, then it's super affordable. And I also do a lot of free content. We will be doing some lives, we'll be doing some hangouts and Q&As, and like I say, those after shows all over on my Substack. I want to share just a little bit too about what's not going to happen on my channel here anymore. I'm not going to share as much of my private life. I have a huge collection of videos about my private life, and to protect my privacy, to protect myself from stalking and harassment and targeted hate, it's no longer safe for me to share where me and my honey went for dinner, or what we're doing on the weekend, or what my kids look like, or my grandbaby, or anything. So those days of big, long personal Jenny stories and reading my diaries are going to be much fewer. I'm going to protect my right to privacy and my family's right to privacy fiercely, because I don't owe anybody any explanations. And the trust that I've had in the public has really been broken. So those days are over. Another thing that you're not going to see on here is fancy Jenny. I'm not trying to impress anybody. There's going to be less makeup, less costumes. I hope that we can dive into some beautiful shared experiences and discussions together. And I don't want to spend 2 hours in the morning putting on makeup and curling my hair and figuring out what blouse to wear. That's not what I'm about. And that's actually one of the things that's really been taking away from my life. I spend so much time with all the camera stuff that it's taking away from just sharing. And I don't want to do that anymore. What I'm wearing at the time of filming, how my hair is brushed, whatever's behind me, it is just going to be what it is. And lastly, I will not be hanging out in my comment section the way that I used to. TikTok, I did have some people that helped me moderate my comments for a time, and the comments are so tiny, they're just a couple sentences. It's really easy. And I enjoyed the dialogue. The comments aren't always safe for me, and I can't preserve my mental and emotional health and just read everything that everybody has to say. So my comment section moving forward is going to be a space for you guys to discuss things with one another and share ideas. And if you'd like to engage in comments, then those memberships will provide for that. I will read comments from members. And over on my Substack, that will be a space where we engage more with you. I don't have the rollout date for you. It's in my head, but I'm going to let that be a surprise, but coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys, and for being here.